Okay, we are started and recording. So welcome everybody. Happy Monday. Hopefully you had a good weekend, had a little bit of time off, recouped, or you got caught up on your assignments, one or the other. So just so you know, this is Geography Week 4, and this lesson is being recorded for learning purposes. And just the classroom expectations as we go through here. Make sure you're following along with the Nearpod lesson. You're using the chat tools respectfully and appropriately, and then also responding to instructions and instructions the first time. That helps us kind of go through there. By respond, if you can be on the Nearpod, that's great. I just put the Nearpod in the chat. If not, just respond through the chat tool, and then I know you are being actively participating there. Okay, so for Unit 4, what we're going to be talking about, your Nearpod's broken today. Okay, I'm sorry to hear that. So just use the chat tool to respond on there, okay? Perfect. What we're going to be going over today, we're going to be going over migration, okay? That's one of the subjects we need to go over. Particularly, we're going to talk about push and pull factors and what those are. And this goes on, if we go back to our 5 themes of geography, if we go back to movement is one of those things that migration, right? We talked about the movement of people. We talked about the movement of ideas, the movement of like things, right? Like, you know, you buy something from China or Malaysia or something like that, and it's shipped to you. All of those things are moving, right? And migration is one of the big things. And we're going to be talking more about people, right? Not migration of birds or animals or something like that. Okay, so our objective today is I'm going to be giving you guys a Newsela article to read. And what you're going to do is you're going to read an article. It's not long. It's about a page long. But students will read the article about basically immigration and draw conclusions of push and pull factors by listing those of why the person or persons had to move from one country to another, and to determine whether that would be a voluntary or an involuntary migration. Okay, so we're going to go over all that. I'll show you how to do it, and it won't be too easy. And that will be what your assignment is for this week. Okay, before I get into this, let's just jump to the course real quick. As you noticed up here, the classroom announcements, I'll have what we got to do this week. We have live class today. If you're unable to hit the live class, there is a recorded class that I have right here. And this week, assignment 4 is being assigned, and it will be due on Friday. And then I put in your scores over the weekend, and then you have there. So if you didn't get anything in, you didn't do like assignment 3 and the mid-course reflection, if you have not done that yet, go in and do it, and then I will update the grades hopefully by today or tomorrow, so you're not showing you have a low grade, okay? As we get in here, I know you can click these, but sometimes they're not working for people when you click to go to the assignment. So if you can just go to content, and then it's going to put you right over here to Unit 4, and you'll be able to find the article that we need to read right here, as well as the assignment. So you can just click on this assignment. And mine's a little bit different. Yours would say take the assignment. But it's basically set up as a quiz here. But start quiz. It's thinking. Okay. All right. Did you read this article? Here's the link to the article too. You can find it there. You're going to talk about push factors, pull factors, and then voluntary or involuntary there. Okay. So that's what you need to do for your assignment. Okay. But let's go over what migration is, about push and pull factors, involuntary and voluntary. So migration means the movement of people from one area or region to another. So I don't know if you're familiar with what they call political cartoons, but this is a little political cartoon right here. So as you can see, you have a castle in the middle of here, and the castle represents kind of a city. And you have people leaving this city. It says, we are leaving because we do not like the way things are done. So, for example, people like to bash California sometimes, but people like to visit California because it has good weather. They have stuff like that. So you have the people arriving because they like the weather and stuff like that. But then you have people leaving because maybe they don't like, there's too many people. They don't like the government. They don't like, there's all types of reasons why people want to leave an area or they don't. As you can see some kind of pictures here of that reason. Okay, so let's watch this video, and it's going to tell us a little bit more about some of those factors of why people move. Now, if you want to jump on the narration and okay, right there, and you want to watch the video yourself, you can just kind of mute this and watch the video yourself so it's not being lagging on you. But for those that can't do it, we'll just have to watch it here. Okay, so this should be a couple minutes, so let's watch it.
And the move of people and the spread of ideas, we have to talk about push factors and pull factors. They're kind of what it sounds like. Push factors are things that push people out of an area. They make it so they no longer want to be there anymore, and they want to move to a different location. We could also even look at this for jobs and different things within your community. Something that is going to make you feel unwelcome, well, you're going to probably want to leave then. Push factors are things that are not welcoming. This could be poor economic conditions, a lack of opportunity, war or political oppression, or just oppression from your neighbors or people in the area. These are things that cause us to no longer want to be in a certain location. And because of that, then we decide to leave. So that's a push factor. Now, pull factors are a little bit different. Pull factors are what would attract someone to an area. A pull factor makes you want to move to that location. It makes you want to go to a certain area. We can break pull factors down into four main categories: economic pull factors, political, cultural, and also environmental. Our first category is economic pull factors, and this one is the most powerful at moving people. For here, people always want to move to areas with opportunity, and so they will go to areas with more economic opportunity. Places that have poor economic conditions are more likely to push people out. Economics is a big reason why people move. This is also why current day, the United States is a big destination for a lot of migrants and immigrants. Many people, particularly from Central America, want to come to the United States because of all the economic opportunity here. Let's look at an example. Let's say that we have a city and they just discovered a bunch of natural resources. This is going to start driving economic growth, and we're going to see an attraction to this particular area. We're going to see more miners, more loggers, more people come that want to be able to harvest and utilize these natural resources. There, then, we're also going to have more businesses come. If we're having all these new workers come into this area, that means there's going to be more people with money. So they have money to spend on different goods. And with that, then, we're also going to see probably more scientists and geologists come to look at what's going on with the environment and analyze the different areas. If we're having mines, well, they need to look at what's happening in the mines. Trees, we're going to be looking at different carbon monoxide output and what's going on there with the environment. And with all these excess people coming, we'll need more restaurants and stores and more housing. So all of this, just a simple discovery of natural resources, it becomes a huge pull factor. And we can transform an economy overnight, as now we're starting to see more workers and people come from all over the place just because of new opportunity. Our next topic is political. Now, people want to go to an area that's politically stable, where you're not seeing a lot of tension with the government and its citizens, where safety is on the rise, and we're not seeing a lot of crime escalation. They also want to go to an area where the government is supporting the people, where they're fulfilling their needs and helping the economy grow and make sure that we're not seeing a recession or anything that would cause uncomfortable times for its citizens. So people move to an area that's politically stable. Areas that aren't politically stable, well, that's going to be another push factor. That might cause refugees, someone who feels like they're persecuted and they have to flee the country, or internally displaced people where they're within their same borders, but there's a conflict and they've had to flee internally inside the country, or maybe even push them to become an asylum seeker. And that is where they're going to be going to another country in hopes of getting recognized as a refugee and gain that status. But a political motivation here is stability. People want to move to an area that's stable. The next category is cultural. Now, this is going to be different for each person because everyone has a different culture and a different view on life. Some people want to move to a big cities where they're going to have more diversity, both with their economic opportunities, but also in just the citizens who are living in that area. They'll start to be able to experience a faster paced life, and they might at the same time also have some higher crime rates and more traffic issues. Some people like the suburbs where you can have a yard, a front and a back, you'll have a bigger house, you'll have a lower crime rate, better schools, and you'll have maybe a more homogeneous area. So diversity, it goes down. Or some people want more of the rural lifestyle where they're in a small town and you have that family feel and you know everyone in the area and you're able to kind of pick and choose your community. Everyone has different cultural things that will pull them to a certain area. So culture can be a big aspect of it, particularly when people are having families. We see a lot of people start to move into the suburbs or in smaller communities when they have families because they want to make sure they're in a safe area. So this is a big pull factor for people. Our last category is the environment. People are attracted to environments that promote not only a happy life and a successful economy and a stable society, but ones that they feel comfortable with. Remember back to my video on the 4 twos, the too hot, too cold, too wet, and too high. Those are areas people don't want to be. I should definitely know some of this. I live in Minnesota where it is very cold in the winter. A lot of people don't want to live up here because of the coldness. They want to go to a warmer area. Now, there's other barriers that impact migration, such as mountains or government laws, restrictions, and also even just money. It's expensive to move. At the same time, though, what we've seen over time is it's become easier and easier to migrate and move. With communication and transportation improving, barriers we used to have are no longer there. That's also why we're seeing an increase of people moving, particularly to different countries that they see as more opportunity that is going to be available to them, where they can get a better life. And then we see now less of the physical restrictions, but more of a governmental stance. Governments now passing laws and putting up barriers to try and prevent migration of people.
Okay, I stopped it there because there's a lot more that he could go on about in regards to why people move from one place to another, right? I was thinking, you think about the Salt Lake Valley and sometimes the inversion, the Wasatch Front, the inversion gets so bad for air that some people have had to move out of that area because of the air quality, right? That would be environmental. Hold on real quick. That'd be like an environmental thing, reason why. Okay. So let's just answer these two questions real quick. Moving to another area because of employment opportunity is a what factor? Okay. So we didn't talk too much about push and pull factors, but he did in there. It's an economic factor, right? But moving to another area, what would it be, right? Because of employment. Pull factor, okay? That's what somebody said. Yeah, so where you're coming from, right? Pull factor, right? They're going to pull wherever that, there's a really good economy somewhere else and it's pulling you to there, okay? The next one, leaving a location because the area is unsafe would be a what factor? Okay. Yes, that would be a push factor. Good job, guys. So that's pushing you because some place is unsafe. That's political unrest. It's a political factor that we're looking at there. Okay. So as we're looking at push factors, what I really like to look at is I think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is this pyramid right here. So everybody has basic needs, okay? So psychological needs or physiological, like having food, water, rest, warmth, air, safety needs, security, being able to feel safe. Those are those basic needs, right? When those basic needs are not being met, that's going to do an involuntary basically move, right? Because you don't have food, you're going to do whatever you have to, right? So this is something to kind of think about too, right? You know, you guys may never have even thought about stealing food before, right? But what if you couldn't get food, right? And you knew somebody had food and it was the only way to survive, right? That's a big kind of moral dilemma, right? And so you would have to somehow get that food, right? Whether it's steal the food or move somewhere else, all that kind of stuff. You plead the fifth. Okay. Hopefully you're in my law enforcement class, so you know what the Fifth Amendment is, right? You got to think about those things. If you don't have those things, you are going to have to involuntarily probably do something. Okay. But if you kind of move up, you have psychological needs like feeling needed. This is more of like the cultural migration that they talked about. So people like to live in a comfortable area. So a lot of people live in Utah because of the culture that's there. They feel comfortable with that culture and they want to live there. Or as he talked about, like in an urban area, suburban or rural area, you feel more comfortable in certain areas. Okay, pull factors, different things. We talked about economic pull factors. The other one I like is political factors, where you get more freedom, more ability to do things. But going back to the Maslow hierarchy of needs, I mean, what you want to do is you want to have what he calls self-actualization, which is basically you feel at harmony with where you're at, right? So sometimes we just move, we migrate, so we feel better. We get out of a certain environment, get into another environment that we feel more comfortable and more secure in. Okay, I think we have a question that's going to pop up here in a second. I love how these Nearpods are so slow. I apologize. There we go. Okay. All right, so let's kind of hear from you guys real quick. Have any of you ever moved from one place to another? If you have, then why? Okay, so that why would be the factor. So said yes, so family. So that may have been like a cultural kind of reason why, right? Jobs, okay, so an economic one is why one of some of you guys moved. Studying, okay, so I think that'd kind of be like economic as well. Like people move to some area for schooling, that kind of stuff. You know, if you're go to graduate school, you had to because of money. Okay, so an economic reason. Many people move to seek better job opportunities or to be closer to the place they work. Yep, and travel, right? Like commuting, that kind of stuff. You're not as comfortable if you have to travel 3 or 4 hours to get somewhere, right? Opportunities, yep. Freedom, school, yes, because my parents were sick of renting the house, yep. What about where you bought one? Good. Family, yep, a cultural kind of aspect here. Yeah, so some things are involuntary too, right? You're forced to move for some reason. Environment, okay? Yeah, as I said, some places they're just not like healthy leaves. So you think about Flint, Michigan. Does anybody know what happened in Flint, Michigan? You can remember? Okay, this was probably, oh wow, probably almost 8 years ago or so. the water got contaminated and it was making people sick, right? And so everybody had to move out of that thing until they got the water fixed, and that would be a forced migration, right? Involuntary. So all kinds of things make us migrate. Okay, so we have two aspects, right? So voluntary and involuntary. We talked about those a little bit already. But the migration that is permanent move from one place to another, voluntary migration is where the migration has a choice whether or not to migrate. Okay, so like cultural, like you can withstand other people if you don't feel that comfortable in a situation. That's really not forced, but you would be forced if you had, like, let's say, we think about all these people coming up from Central America, right? They're coming up to the United States because, let's say they have drug cartels that down there. They have all kinds of things that are going on, and it's forcing them to move. There's the economic advantage, and they're moving up, right? So those are things right there. Okay, so this will kind of help you out real quick. Let's just verify this and then we'll wrap things up real quick. Okay, so let's say we're living in Sudan, Africa, and a war breaks out. It is now unsafe for you to be there. Hold on real quick, guys. If you guys want to answer that real quick, that'd be great. Okay, so this would be considered a blank migration. Okay, so we got our voluntary or involuntary. Okay, so you have war breaks out. What do you guys think that one is? Voluntary or involuntary? Okay, yep, that would be involuntary right there. Okay, you end up migrating to New York City after finding a higher paid job, and then you find a higher paying job in Miami, Florida. This would be considered a voluntary. Okay, you don't have to move, you're not forced to move, but that would be a voluntary. Okay, all right, so this would be our assignment that we need to do. So I'm gonna go to the next page real quick, and if you click on this, it's gonna take you right to the PDF. If not, let me throw that in the chat here. Oops, of course I messed it up. 1 second, let me try this again. Okay, click right here. Throw this in the chat. You're gonna read a story, and you can find this under Unit 4 too, about Vladi. It's a 15-year-old waiting for months to join his mother in California. So it tells the story. He's from El Salvador. As you see, it's just a little bit of information. And so you just need to read that, and then you'll go to the assignment and you'll answer these questions, okay? And then submit, just talking about voluntary or involuntary migration. So that is our assignment for this week. I'm going to stop the recording now, but then I'll ask if you guys have any questions. I'll stay after to help you at all of you. So